Hey y'all, Big Tim here. Thanks for tuning in for this special Thanksgiving edition of Old School and Bass with Big Tim. So I hope y'all are able to have a good Thanksgiving, have many reasons to be thankful, and are able to spend it with your friends and family and other loved ones. That's what Thanksgiving's all about. It's about family and giving thanks. So hopefully that's what you're doing this Thanksgiving. So I really wasn't going to make a video for this week in hopes that, people would spend a little more time with their family, off their phones, things like that. But felt compelled to do it for a couple of reasons. There's just so much going on in fishing right now. For me, boy, I was thankful in the fact that I thought my season was over. I think you saw the other day we had the trip at Cumberland on November 4th. And when we went, I did not think that was going to be my last trip of the season. But as of last week, I was thinking, man, and I was really depressed about it. I was thinking that might have been my last trip out. The long range forecast doesn't look good corresponding with my days off. I don't see any days over 50 degrees. I know a lot of guys will go out there in the 40s, but for me, it's got to be 50 and above. Just to think about going out fishing. I can't handle the cold anymore. I'm the only fat guy in the world that doesn't like the cold. I know a lot of people, can function out there. My hands, my feet, my ears, everything gets so cold. I just can't handle it. I can keep my core warm, but ears, hands, and feet, horrible. So 50 plus is my preferred range. I actually would prefer that 75 plus range. But that's another story. But anyway, on Monday, we had a day off, and it got over, I want to say it got to like 55. So Dad and I went to Williamstown. You'll see that shortly. I've got a bunch of editing to do on that. We didn't catch a bunch of fish, but we had a good time, caught a few, and missed a real nice opportunity. So that'll be a fun little video to see. But there's been a lot of other things happening in fishing lately. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was Scott Martin. He's jumping ship from FLW and going over to BASS. Want to try to contend for the Elite Series by fishing the Bassmaster Opens. And I think that's one of the greatest things ever. I want Scott to go over there. He's a great, great fisherman. He brings a lot of freshness to bass. And let's face it, this guy really understands the social media platforms that are out there. He's opening up BASS to a whole new market, I think. And the fact that he's going to go do it the right way by fishing the Bassmaster Opens, wow, I think that's so great. Now, some guys have said, he's leaving FLW. That's where his home was, and he's basically turned his back on everybody. And it's really not the case because FLW has been bought out and it'll be a little different than it used to be. The family atmosphere that you had before probably won't be the same. You may see some of the familiar faces and everything else, but it probably won't be the same. So anybody that thinks that he's jumping ship and leaving FLW on bad terms, I don't think that's the case, or else he would have done it last year. I'm sure he could have went to Bass last year. If he'd have made a phone call and say, hey, I'd like to come over, I'm sure Bass would have welcomed him with open arms. But he wanted to stay with Bass. That's where with FLW. That's where his allegiance was. And when Erwin Jacobs died and then the sale of FLW, yeah, that pretty much sealed the deal. He knew it wasn't going to be the same place. So he's going to fish the Bassmaster Opens. Along with Andrew Upshaw, he's going to fish the Opens and try to qualify for the Elite Series. I commend those guys. That's the way to do it. So tonight, one of the reasons I felt compelled to make this video, I saw, and it had happened after lunch because I looked at social media during my lunch break, but I saw this evening that Gerald Swindle and Brandon Polinick are going to move back to the Elite Series. Both Swindle and Polinick are using the Legends exemption because they both won the Angler of the Year on the Elite Series. I don't know. I'm not real a fan of it. Now, granted, I like both those guys. I'm glad to see them come back to bass, but I'd have liked to have seen them had to go through the opens and earn their way back in. I think the legend status, I don't think they were gone long enough. I guess people would argue with me. I don't know that I would consider either of them legends. You know, yes, they've been with Bass a few years. Swindle over 20 and Polinick probably 8 or 9. But I don't know. I just don't qualify those as legends. I think maybe we need to get a tighter rule on the legends exemption. Maybe it's a legend would be somebody that's won Angler of the Year and the Bassmaster Classic. Something like that. But, hey, there it is. Now, the problem I have with it is the way the legends exemption is. I mean, there's a lot of guys over at the Bass Pro Tour that have won a AOY or a Bassmaster Classic. So any of these guys could jump ship and come back anytime they want. I think we have to tighten that up just a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I'm like I said, I'm kind of glad that they're back. I just don't know if I like the way they came back. I think they should have earned their way back. Also, tonight, I saw that David Dudley and Brian Thrift are going to leave the FLW Pro Tour and go to the Bass Pro Tour for Major League Fishing. And I'm a little disappointed in that. I really wanted to see both of those guys do like Scott Martin and go to the Bass Opens and try to make the Elite Series. I really wanted to see them in the Elite Series, particularly Thrift. You know, I really wanted to see what Thrift was going to do over on the Elite Series. I really thought that he would be the one to break all the records. He's still a young dude. I think that he would have broken a lot of records, and I would have been real excited to see him over at Bass. But that's not the case. So we'll see how this all works out. But bigger news for us here on the channel. Through some support and talking to different people and discussions with Lori and, you know, things like that, I've come to the conclusion we're going to go do the series that we were talking about. We're going to call it The Truth Behind the Trophies. And basically what the truth behind the trophies is going to be is about the circumstances and the background that led to some of my tournament wins. And it's not so much, I don't know if you can say X's and O's when you're talking about fishing. You know, we will mention the baits. We will mention the kind of banks that we're talking about and, you know, how I found fish and whatnot. But we're going to spend more time talking about some of the circumstances and coincidences and sometimes what I think is divine intervention coming down to help me win some of these tournaments. So I think right now I wanted to get this started in December. I was going to run the first one on the first Monday in December. I'm actually going to redo that. I'm going to start the first segment the second Monday in December. The reason being is because the third one that I want to do, I'm going to do them chronologically. The third one I'm going to do kind of has a little tie-in with Christmas, a little bit. It's kind of a stretch, but you'll see. So thanks for tuning in, and hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. And you guys that are going down there to fish the Bill Taylor, Ron McClure tournament at Cumberland out of Conway Bottoms this weekend, man, I envy you. I haven't been able to fish that since I got into the retail business. You know, Black Friday is a big time. I close every Friday night for Black Friday, and it's just too hard to leave out of the store at 11 o'clock and then try to go fish Lake Cumberland. So it's been over 6 years since I fished it. And Dad and I used to love to do that every year. So I'm so envious of you guys. I hope you have some good weather. The last I looked, it didn't look so good, but things change. So I hope to see some big bags that you guys catch down at Cumberland. I'd like to see pictures. Particularly, I love seeing the pictures of big spotted bass. You know, I know a lot of guys like smallmouth and, you know, big largemouth are always cool too. I like them all. But I really love seeing pictures of the big spots. And when I say big spots, a 2-pound Kentucky is a big spotted bass. So you guys catching 3s and 4s, I want to see them. So make sure to post those pictures. Let me know about it. And until then, have a great time, and we'll see you shortly.